I was in a pit, and I cried out for him. I was the one he left to find. He gave me rest. Unbelievers would say that my testimony is too dramatic to be believable. To that I say that it is too real to not share, and it is my joy to be able to share it. When I was a child, my grandfather would take me to church right outside of Taylorsville, Kentucky. When I was 12 years old, I was baptized by the Holy Spirit and became a Christian. I unfortunately was a seed sown on rocky ground. The lessons of the gospel that I learned in my childhood didn't take root, and everything that I learned about Christ fell by the wayside when I started questioning the Bible and decided that the words and tales were mere allegories. The anti-gospel arguments of the world and the persistent lies of the enemy began almost immediately to impede on the work of salvation that Christ did on my behalf over 2,000 years ago. In my teenage years, I was more interested in the music I was listening to, clothes that I was wearing, and hanging out with my friends than anything else. I developed a habit of occasionally smoking cigarettes and overeating on an almost daily basis. At 18, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and then binge eating turned into one new escape after another. Before I knew it, I was a 33-year-old homeless epileptic. At that point, I had more self-destructive habits than dollars in my pocket because, as far as I figured, I would rather have killed myself than let the epilepsy take me. I was poisoning myself in more ways than I care to mention. Physically, by the laundry list of toxins that I was putting in my body. Emotionally, by the violent and toxic relationship I was in. And spiritually, by giving in to every pagan or occult practice that I stumbled upon. Because of the illegal, dangerous nature of my life at the time, my next destination was either a prison cell or a casket. The enemy had dug a pit, and I was obliged to walk straight into it. However, the enemy didn't know what I would find in that pit. A slug in an alley after midnight in downtown Louisville. I sat crouched, crying, and bleeding like a modern Gerasened maniac. I empathized with that slug. I was cold, gross, and alone. I didn't know that, like it, I also had someone who understood my struggle. A bus bench in the rain where I watched people leaving Sunday morning service and yearned to push past them and fall asleep in a dimly lit room that smelled like the pages of a Bible. A road that I'd been walking on all day, just so I could have a place to sleep that night. My whole body aching except for one warm spot on my back, where I could have sworn that a friend had placed his hand. After yet another argument with my fiancé, a feeling that I could only describe as that of being chastened by a parent for getting too close to a deadly snake, a sudden rush of fear and obedience that I never will forget for the rest of my life. My aunt's Honda, that very same night, when I called her and admitted that I couldn't fight anymore. I had caused my situation and I couldn't fix it alone. The floor in my bedroom, where my aunt and grandfather let me stay. I sat there with the Lord for hours until I fell asleep wearing my own tears. I found the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 28. Come unto me, all ye who labor and are heavy laden. I will give you rest. Upon being lifted from that pit, I found many new things. Strength, resolve, my purpose of being, an abhorrence to the evil that I saw and engaged in, and an ever-increasing freedom from the bonds of the enemy, and above all, the love and grace from the one that I had turned my back on. So in response to the question, what did Jesus do for you? To fellow believers, I would say I was in a pit and cried out, I am the one he left to find. To others, I would only just begin with, he gave me rest.